Hello, everyone. This is Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Var. I'm doing my weekly update. It's going to be a day late, actually, as I just got back from LTUE number 43 today on Sunday. And I normally record these weekly updates on Saturday. And so this will come out just a day late. Um, I will have an update actually on Wednesday from just some of my thoughts and about how LTUE went. But for right now, I'm just going to give you the 4 books that I finished this last week, and then the other ones I've been reading. Actually, first and foremost, I read one short story by Pop. It was Pop Art by Joe Hill, which my buddy Tim actually sent to me as a Valentine's Day gift, and it was really good. Actually, I really liked it. I I had not read anything by this author before. Wasn't really sure what to expect, but it was very thought provoking. I mean, it kind of gets into like abuse. It's weird, right? Okay, so I'll leave it at this. Okay, there's kind of a premise that is just considered pretty normal, or at least it's not like completely fantastic or fantasy as we would view it. That in the world, it's just our world, pretty much exactly our world. But some people are just inflated, right? They're like balloon people, pretty much, right? And it's a condition you can be born with, right? Which is obviously makes you very fragile and very different. So, and it's about a boy and his best friend who happens to be one of these inflated people. So, very, very touching story. It reminded me of my childhood in a sense. Not for like there is like abuse in the story, not that. So don't worry about that. But it's good. It's touching. I definitely could see myself rereading it again. I do recommend it. Short read. So the stories I finished though were 23 Years on Fire by Joel Shepherd. I was pretty close to finishing this one last week. It was definitely goes to interesting places. Definitely separated from the first 3 novels. It is very much kind of bigger idea, and it gets bigger in scope, more space opera than the first 3 books. It is interesting. It wasn't my favorite in the series. I do kind of see where he was going um, with this, and how it definitely led to the Spiral Wars series he's doing now. And then I also finished Soldiers of Ice, which I have over here. Um, and I was very close to finishing this one as well. What is this? David Cook. Uh, it was good. I really like the way that gnolls are treated, actually. They're not just like straight up all terrible, right? They are pretty much inherently evil still in a sense, but not quite just like super straightforward. So it's an interesting story. It is also in a interesting locale. North of Damara, if I remember correctly. Maybe it's north of like Vasa. Somewhere in the north. Interesting one. I also finished one more Forgotten Realms novel that was Curse of the Shadow Mage. This one was not the best. It has a nice map at the front. It is a sequel to Crypt of the Shadow King. And it does have some interesting stuff in it. The focus is not so much on Caladan as it is in the first book, more so on the group of friends, but kind of on Caladan still. And it's just really straightforward D&D story. Like there's not much really that makes it stand out. It does have some interesting like backstory and stuff. But again, it's just kind of thrown in there like I guess a player could do if they wanted to run a campaign like this. And that's the nice thing I guess about D&D in that sense. Even these worlds, right? There's just plenty more. You can take all this lore if you want and just throw in some other stuff too. And then the last book I finished was Heart of the Mountain. By Larry Correia. My reviews are actually already out. That's a new release, and so I was just trying to get that out quickly. And it was fine. It was an interesting ending for the series. Not my favorite in the series. Actually, it might be my least favorite entry in the series. But it still does okay, I think. And overall, I did actually really find the series entertaining. So, besides that, I did listen to a little bit more like Arkenvale, a little bit more of Stone's Throw Cities Beneath. I caught up on Arkenvale right now, not on Cities Beneath. I also am really close to finishing this finally, The Glass Prison by Mont Cook. Really close. This one is again kind of like just vanilla, just D&D novel that is like it has some the one point that really stands out here is um, the main character is a Cambion, and he's dealing with this idea of fate, right? And pretty much having this idea of free will and like even a soul, right? Because demons wouldn't really, um, but mortals do. And he's got the dual nature that he is like fighting with pretty much. And so I do like that. Overall, though, the other characters are pretty flat. They're pretty static characters, flat and static, really. And so, and they're just kind of okay, right? It's not bad. I mean, it does. It's an entertaining enough read though, so it's not terrible. But it's just really nothing really special about it much at all. But again, that's another one that just throws in some stuff into an area that doesn't really have all that much going on into it in the Thunder Peaks. Though there is some stuff in that area, the Thunder Peaks, that not mentioned here, um, but then I also started, I think I started this week. It was The Leper of St. Giles by Ellis Peters. I'm about halfway through this one. I just didn't get that much reading done in it since I went to Utah for that conference. I've gotten almost no reading done in it since I went to that conference. I read like half of it earlier in the week, and then stopped. Similarly, The Gathering Storm by Kate Elliott, the fifth book, not Robert Jordan's, the fifth book in the Crown of Stars series. It's been okay. I'm really close to finishing it, actually. It's been okay. I'm just really kind of sick of the bloat at this point. The story itself is well written and well realized. I think Elliott does have quite a bit of talent there. It's just, it's just too much, right? That's often a fantasy problem. And I mean, it's got like dark moments, heroic ones, but it's just bloated. And but it's okay. I think the next two books cut down on the size a lot. And with this one, it seems, essentially, I'm not quite done, but I'm really close. It seems like we're going to be getting to the climax of the series pretty much, right? Like the stuff that we have known for a while is going to happen is like, well, one, it's insanely confirmed in this book, but it's actually like right about to happen. I imagine it's going to happen at the end of this book, like right at the very end, right? And that's going to be the end of the book or whatever. So, and then the final stuff is going to happen in book 6 and 7, because this is like one of those epic fantasy series that actually ended up getting longer, like a lot of them do, right? I think it was supposed to be like 3 books, and it was supposed to be like 5 books, and it's ended up being 7. So I don't have the 5th book physically, which is one of the reasons I hadn't read it yet. I am doing this one on audio. I prefer to have them physically. I don't have 6 and 7 either, but I'm broke, so I haven't been buying books lately, and so that's delayed some of my reading as well, unfortunately. So I'm reading a lot of books I already had. Oh, and then one other book that I did read some of, and that is this, The Boy Who Became a Jackrabbit. Hopefully I'll finish this one this week. It's really short. It's by Charles Stanford. I'll talk more about this in my LTE video because I got this one at LTE. It is 2 stories. It's a novella and a short story. I've read the short story, Lightness. I've not read Belonging, which is the next story. I really enjoyed Lightness, actually. Really enjoyed it. It's interesting because it's like fantasy, has a lot of thought and depth put into it. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's good, right? When we have stuff like that. Because I mean, when I go to these conferences, I feel like the stereotype is, let me tell you about my world building like type of thing or whatever, or my magic system. And there's no magic system thing really here. But the world building, and that's not, and I'm not insinuating at all that that's what Charles has done to anyone, or it definitely hasn't spoken like that to me. And I'm not saying that that's even inherently bad. It's just a little kind of stereotype from what I've seen. But there's definitely been a lot of thought put into this. But in my mind, I'd expect fantasy to be very obvious where the conflict is, and what I mean by that is that like it's a sword coming to stab you type of thing, right? Like, or there's a plague or whatever, right? Like, but it's not that. Now, there's very obviously conflict in this story, but it's more of like a little coming of age moment, right? Not the whole thing, just a moment of it, right? The main character is like 13 years old in the story, right? And I think it works really well. It's very literary, but it's very straightforward as well in a sense. And Lightness actually had been previously published. So I really enjoyed that. I'm really looking forward to Belonging. I'm looking forward to more by Charles Stanford, and I believe he's planning on writing more in this world. I will hopefully be talking to Charles actually on this channel here soon. So, but that's it. That's my reading. Again, I'll talk more about that in my my next video pretty much. So, but yeah, that's my weekly update number 118 for the 17th of February. Crazy, we're already that far in. So, anyways, let me know what you've been up to this week. But I hope it's been a good one.